When her adoptive family threw her out, they didn't whisper or wait for privacy. They pushed the door open wide and let the whole world watch. A billionaire driving past saw the scene unfold. What he did next didn't just surprise her. It stunned everyone who knew him. She stepped out of the grand stone house with only 2 overstuffed suitcases and 14 years of quiet hurt. Behind her, the family who had raised her, or pretended to, burst into laughter loud enough to echo across the driveway. They were celebrating a wedding she had planned, decorated, and practically built for them. And then, with the same hands she had helped so many times, they shoved her out of their perfect picture. But the man who had stopped at the gate, watching from his car, he wasn't going to let her walk away alone. The flower petals were still drifting in the air when they told her to leave. They didn't step aside. They didn't lower their voices. They didn't try to look decent for the guests walking by in glittering gowns and sharp suits. They just stood on the front steps, smiling like nothing cruel was happening. Lena didn't cry. She held her chin still, her expression fixed the way it had been trained. Years of swallowing hurt without letting anyone see it. She stared at the woman who had taken her in at age 8. "Don't make that face," her adoptive mother whispered through clenched teeth, still waving politely at guests. "You caused this." Lena's voice wavered. "I didn't do anything. You stood too close to the groom." The bride snapped, lifting her dress as if Lena's presence was dirt. "You kept smiling at him while you were helping me. Do you know how that looks?" Lena blinked, confused. "I was looking at the mirror behind him." "Don't argue." Her adoptive father didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. "Pick up your things and go. You're not staying here after embarrassing us." That word, embarrassment, the same word they used when she wore the wrong shoes in a family photo, or when she spoke too loudly, or when she won an award at school and reporters used their last name next to hers. She had never been family. They had only needed her to fill the empty spaces, quietly, neatly, gratefully. Guests continued laughing and clinking glasses, pretending not to see the ugly scene unfolding at the foot of the stairs. That was something rich people had perfected, polishing cruelty until it looked like nothing at all. Lena gripped the handles of her suitcases and forced herself to turn away before her knees gave out. Step by step, she walked down the long driveway, feeling something tear deep inside, quietly, like fabric ripping slowly down the center. She thought of the night she first arrived. 8 years old, small, silent, clutching a broken doll. The social worker promised, "This family will give you everything." But the first night, they put her in a laundry room because the guest rooms were too nice to waste. She learned quickly. Eat last. Speak softly. Don't expect anything. Be grateful for crumbs. On rare good days, they tossed her scraps of affection, an old sweater, leftover cake, a half-hearted pat on the shoulder. She took them all. She convinced herself it was love. But now she was standing at the end of the driveway with her whole life in 2 suitcases, and a billionaire stepping out of a black car, watching her like he couldn't believe what he'd just seen. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe. We post one every day. Today was supposed to be simple. Lena woke before sunrise to steam Chloe's wedding gown, organize jewelry trays, guide the makeup artist, and keep a swarm of younger cousins out of trouble. She didn't complain, not when her back ached, not when she sliced her finger arranging centerpieces, not even when Chloe screamed because the veil looked too stiff. Lena fixed everything, and the moment she stepped outside to watch the ceremony from a quiet distance, just to witness the one event she had poured herself into, they pushed her out like she was nothing. The limousine door behind her was still open. Sunlight caught drifting petals, making the air look like a celebration. The laughter behind her swelled, almost as if they were cheering her departure. Lena kept her chin raised. She wouldn't break in front of them, but her arms trembled under the weight of the suitcases, her throat burned, and every step made her knees wobble. "Just walk," she whispered to herself. She didn't notice the man standing near the limo until she almost collided with him. A man in a crisp white suit embroidered with gold, sharp features, steady eyes, and over his arm, a wedding gown draped with jeweled detail, sparkling in the sun. He was clearly part of their world, polished, wealthy, untouchable. But he wasn't laughing. He wasn't watching the bride or the groom. He was watching her, with a startled, quiet intensity that made her breath hitch. Lena tried to hurry past, but her suitcase clipped the toe of his shoe. She stepped back immediately. "Sorry," she muttered. He didn't move, didn't glance away. His voice was low level. Why are you leaving with luggage in the middle of a wedding? She froze. Not this. Not another person questioning her. Not another chance to choke on the same shame. I'm fine, she said quickly. Please, just let me go. He looked past her toward the marble steps where Julia and Mark were clapping, laughing, tossing petals as if the celebration were spotless. His jaw tightened. A flicker of something cold crossed his face. Lena gripped her suitcase handles harder and tried to step around him. Gently, not forcefully. He shifted, blocking her just enough to make her pause. You don't look fine. She swallowed hard. I don't need help. Maybe not, he answered quietly. But you need fairness. And what I just saw wasn't fair. Her chest constricted. His words landed exactly where she was already breaking. But she didn't respond. If she opened her mouth, she wasn't sure what would come out. A passing staff member whispered to another. They kicked her out. After everything she did. Loud enough for the man to hear. His expression darkened. He looked at Lena again, and something in him shifted, something sharp and certain forming behind his eyes. She didn't understand it. Didn't trust it. Didn't want to. She lifted her chin. I said I'm fine. I'll manage. Manage where? He asked softly. Her silence was answer enough. The breeze lifted the hem of her dress. Petals drifted behind them like a celebration, but Lena stood in the wreckage of 14 years. The man finally stepped aside, letting her pass, but his gaze stayed fixed on her, unwavering. Lena walked on, dragging her suitcases, heart hammering. She didn't look back, but he did. He watched her the way someone watches a moment they cannot, will not, ignore. And as she moved farther from the mansion, farther from the people who never wanted her, farther from the life she had tried so hard to fit into, she didn't know that the man in the white suit, Evan, had already made a decision. One that would change everything. Halfway down the sprawling driveway, Lena's right suitcase slipped from her hand. The handle snapped from her grip, the case scraping the pavement with a harsh, grating sound. She bent to grab it, but her fingers trembled so violently she almost missed. A voice cut through the quiet. Stop. She froze. Footsteps approached, steady, calm, sure. The air changed, like someone had stepped between her and the storm crushing her chest. She didn't turn, but she knew who it was. The man in the white suit. Gold embroidery. Sharp jaw. Eyes that didn't look away when things got ugly. Evan. He stopped beside her. Not crowding her. Not hovering. Just close enough that she could feel someone standing with her, not against her. You shouldn't be walking alone with bags like this, he said quietly. Lena kept her gaze on the ground. I told you I'm fine. That's the problem, he replied. You keep saying you're fine while everything around you is falling apart. She straightened abruptly, anger flaring through exhaustion. I didn't ask you to follow me. I know. His tone didn't sharpen. But I'm not walking away. Lena finally looked up at him. His expression wasn't soft or pitying. It was controlled, cold at the edges, the expression of someone who recognized cruelty when he saw it and didn't tolerate it. Her voice came out rough. What do you want? To make sure you're not left on the road like garbage, he said. That's exactly what they tried to do. Her stomach twisted. They didn't want me there anymore. That's their choice. I'm not their daughter. You were a kid when they took you in, he shot back. They didn't adopt a prop. They adopted a person. The words hit hard. Too hard. She swallowed, trying to force down the ache clawing up her throat. Please don't do this. Evan exhaled slowly, then spoke more gently. I saw what happened. Lena stiffened. What do you mean? He looked back toward the mansion, toward the glittering staircase where Julia, Mark, and Chloe posed with guests, smiling like their hands were clean. I was behind the limo when they humiliated you, he said. Every word. Every laugh. I saw it all. Lena's breath caught. Then you understand why I need to leave. No, he said firmly. I understand why you shouldn't leave alone. Before she could answer, a sharp voice sliced through the air. Excuse me. Julia, Chloe's mother, marched toward them, her pale gown dragging across the driveway. Her face burned with manufactured outrage, as if someone had dared to challenge her authority. You, she snapped at Evan. Stop speaking to her. She's leaving. Let her go. Evan turned toward her fully, and something in his expression shifted. Too calm, too controlled to be harmless. No, he said. Julia blinked. Excuse me. I said no. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. You don't get to decide who she talks to. Not anymore. Julia scoffed venomously. She is no longer part of this family. She caused chaos today. This is our daughter's wedding. We don't need a distraction wandering around. Lena felt something inside her collapse inward, the words hitting deep. But Evan stepped forward just enough to shield her from the woman's glare. She organized your entire wedding, he said. From before sunrise until the minute you shoved her out. And you threw her away like she's nothing. That is none of your concern, Julia snapped. Stay out of it. It became my concern, Evan answered. The moment you publicly humiliated someone who didn't deserve it. Guests were now turning. Voices lowered. Photographers stopped shooting. Everything grew still. The groom's family stopped smiling. Chloe finally stepped forward, anger sharpening every line of her face. She was trying to flirt with my fiancé. Chloe snapped. Lena shook her head instantly. I wasn't. Quiet, Chloe barked. But Evan stepped in before Lena could shrink back. She wasn't flirting, he said. She wasn't even seen. Because that's how you trained her to be. A ripple of stunned whispers spread through the guests. Mark pointed a stiff finger at Evan. Young man, you have no right to interfere. I have every right, Evan said smoothly. Especially when a girl is being tossed out like trash for no reason. She's not our responsibility, Mark shot back. Maybe that's why you never treated her like family, Evan replied. Silence fell, heavy enough to choke on. Lena stood frozen, heart pounding, watching a man she didn't even know defend her harder than the people who had claimed her for years. Chloe scoffed, bitterness twisting her expression. What is she to you anyway? Evan turned to Lena. His jaw loosened, eyes softening by a fraction. Someone who deserved better. Lena's breath hitched. Oh, please, Chloe scoffed. Don't tell me you're on her side. I'm not choosing sides, Evan said. I'm correcting a wrong. He shifted his attention fully to Lena. Come with me, he said quietly. You're not staying here. Lena shook her head fast. I can't leave with a stranger. You're not leaving with a stranger, he said. You're leaving with someone who knows what it's like to be dismissed. Her chest squeezed painfully. You don't know me. I do. Lena froze. Evan didn't move closer. Didn't reach for her. Didn't pressure. He simply spoke. Years ago, he said softly, I was sitting in a library sketching dress ideas before the guard kicked me out for staying too long. I didn't have money to buy anything, so I couldn't stay. I was tired. Hungry. Invisible. Lena stared at him, confused. And then, he continued, a little girl walked up and handed me a juice box and a granola bar. Her breath caught. You told me. You look like you need this more than I do. Lena's lips parted. A memory, small, warm, buried under years of hurt, surfaced. I never forgot, Evan said. People remember kindness when they don't get much of it. Her eyes burned. I didn't recognize you at first, he said. Not until I saw your face up close. Not until I saw the same eyes as that girl. Lena's knees weakened. Air stalled in her lungs. Evan extended his hand, not for her to take, just offering a choice. You helped me when I had nothing, he said. Let me return what you gave me. She swallowed. What are you offering? A place to stay, he said. A job. Safety. A future that isn't tied to people who never valued you. Julia stepped forward, voice sharp. You cannot take her. Evan met her stare without flinching. Watch me. Then he faced Lena again. This doesn't have to be the end of your story, he said softly. It can be the beginning. Lena looked back at the mansion, at the people who never chose her, who never loved her, who only needed her when it benefited them. Then she looked at Evan, at someone who saw her worth before she could even see it herself. Her fingers trembled. Her lips parted. Okay, she whispered. Evan nodded, steady and sure. He lifted one of her suitcases without asking. Without hesitation, Lena grabbed the other. They walked away together. Away from the mansion, the cruelty, the years of pretending she belonged. Behind them, petals kept falling. But for the first time, they weren't falling on her heartbreak. They were falling on her freedom. If this story touched you, show some love. Like, comment the moment that stayed with you, and subscribe for more emotional stories that reveal what really happens behind closed doors.